Bend, Oregon. It is mid-June. It is halfway through the year of 2014, and it is time to review, refresh, and refocus. You know, if you're not achieving everything you want to achieve in your Freedom Equity Group business or in any endeavor in your life, then the first thing you want to do is review. You want to look at, are you getting the desired results? And if the answer is no, then the question is, why not? In our particular business, there's usually one of 5 reasons. One is you're not talking to enough people. Now, I'd recommend that you write down the numbers 1 through 5 on a notepad and jot these down, and then evaluate after this call and see which ones are appropriate to you. And then just work on those. And that's what we're going to be talking about on Monday on that review of the system call. We'll be talking about, how many people do you need to talk to a day to make this work? Because there's a formula here that works, and it works for those who work it. It doesn't work, of course, for those who don't work it. So that's what we'll be talking about on Monday. Next possibility is you might be talking to the wrong people. If somebody is broke and has no job, they're probably not a great candidate for this business, right? So talking to the wrong people is a possibility. The big reason, if you're talking to enough people, then most commonly the problem is talking too much. You're not being a tour guide to the information. You're trying to be a presenter of the information. And guys, that does not work very well. It's also known as selling. We don't sell or convince or persuade anybody of anything. What we have is too good. We have one of the best opportunities out there today, and we have products that everybody should own. So it's an educational process. It's not a selling process here. If you have people joining you and they're not getting started or they're not staying in, then probably you're not keeping it really simple. In order to go fast, it's got to be simple. Remember, the theme of our whole system is fun, fast, and simple. If it's not simple, it can't go fast. If it's not fast, it's definitely not fun. And then another possibility, of course, is not following the system. And so that's why it's really important to join us on Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for a review of the system and make sure that you have it down right. Guys, if you will learn this simple baseball diamond system so well that you can teach it without notes, when you own it, in other words, and you're a master of the system in terms of the knowledge, you get it, you understand how it works, you understand why it works. Knowing why it works is every bit as important as knowing what it is, because then you can see when something's not working, why it's not working. So that was the review part. And those 5 things, once again, let me just refresh that, so that I want you to write these down. Just write 1 through 5 in a column, and write talking to enough people, talking to the wrong people, talking too much, not keeping it simple, and not following the system. And just review later and see if any of those are what's slowing you down. Next thing you want to do after you review is refresh. You want to revisit your why. Why the heck are you doing this? The why is not about money. None of us want to build a great big money bin and swim in it like Scrooge McDuck. It is not about the money. It's got to be bigger than that. And it's got to be bigger than you and your why. It's got to be a why worth joining. If you don't know what a why worth joining means, please review the April 12th blog post on our Team Synergy training blog. That is a brilliant video that's linked there from a guy named Simon Sinnott, who just did an 18-minute presentation on a why worth joining. People don't buy your how until they buy your why. So write that down, April 12th blog post. If you haven't seen that, or if you saw it already, see it again. It's well worth it. Because here's the deal. Zig Ziglar said it best. He said, if you help enough other people get what they want, you will get everything you want. If you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get everything you want. So that's what we're about. Our opportunity is all about hope and a better future for people. Our products are all about peace of mind and financial security. So when you help enough other people get what they want, you get everything that you want, especially, guys, especially in the life insurance industry. The industry in 2012, I don't know what it is for 2013, but I imagine it's higher. But in 2012, the industry paid $52 billion in commissions. That wasn't sales. That was commissions paid to agents like you and me. 149 million policies, personal, individual policies, are enforced today in the United States, and 98% of them need to be replaced. Guys, we are sitting at a point, just like the mortgage industry was sitting in the year 2000, in front of a huge refinance mania in which a lot of people made huge amounts of money. So the opportunity is here, the need is there for what we do, and the question is, are you a crusader for full living benefits? Are you a crusader? Or are you just selling insurance? You know, if this isn't a passion, if you're not on a mission to educate people about the value of full living benefits, whether they buy from you or not, guys, then you're just selling insurance, and nobody wants to buy insurance. What people want is peace of mind, and they want security for their family, but they don't want to buy insurance. So if you're selling insurance, you've got a long road to hoe. That's not what we're about. We're about a crusade to educate America about full living benefits and tax-free and risk-free retirement savings and planning. So those are our two crusades. We are here to share the opportunity with everybody. That's maybe a third crusade is an opportunity for a business that's real, because there's so much crap out there. But guys, we have something very real, something very special. We're in front of something huge. And so I just want to refresh you here on what's possible. Whoops, I want to get to the income calculator first. And the 7-Eleven plan, if you weren't on the call with us when we did the 7-Eleven plan, I just want to run through it with you again because it is so simple. Remember, the key here is to keep it simple. So if you've seen the Freedom Equity Group's potential income calculator, you know that our average annual target premium, that's what's paid in the pay grid, is $3,000, right? Well, I'm going to cut that in half just to be conservative. Because when you're starting out, let's say that most of the policies you sell are term policies, so that'll be a lot less, right? So that's fine. You can make a fortune here just selling full living benefit term policies. You don't ever have to worry about the IUL. In fact, I would recommend if you're new that you don't even think about the IUL. Worry about that later. If you help people get into these term policies so that increase their coverage by 700%, right, for about the same money, because it's 7 times more likely that somebody will have a heart attack, stroke, or cancer and live than just keel over and die from it. So if you're covered for that with the same premium cost, that means you have 700% more coverage for exactly the same money. Who in the world would not want that? That's why I tell you, it's just an educational process. It is not about selling, convincing, or persuading. It's about educating. And so let's say that most of your policies in your whole organization are term policies. Your average isn't $3,000. It's only half of that at $1,500. I'm going to suggest that if you're serious about this business, that you are selling at least 4 policies a month. That should be a personal minimum. This whole plan revolves around that. If you will do that, and you will teach the serious people in your team to do that, if you set that as your culture in your organization, a minimum of 4 months, and these are all minimums, by the way, and winners don't make their minimums their maximums, but if you'll do this as a minimum, then amazing things can happen with a whole lot of people doing a little bit each. So the way that you do 4, if you're a builder, and I'm assuming for the purpose of this example that you're a builder, if you're a producer or just a paid referral partner, these numbers still work. You probably just have to do a little bit more. But if you're a builder, then you're sharing the intro video on a consistent basis. If you do that, I would recommend if you're full-time 3 times a day minimum. If you're part-time, maybe 1 or 2 times a day minimum. You have to set your own standards there. But if you will consistently and persistently share that intro video, follow up, ask the 2 questions. We'll review all of that on Monday, so don't miss that 4 o'clock Pacific call Monday. But if you'll consistently share this with 2 or 3 people a day, every day, 5 days a week, then if you don't sell 4 policies a month, we need to talk. If you're doing that consistently, if you're getting that video to 3 people to watch it every day, or even 2, if you're getting 2 a day, every day, 5 days a week, consistently, and you're not selling 4 policies a month, then call me and we will figure out what's wrong. Because I don't know anybody who's doing that that's not doing that kind of volume. So that is what it takes. That's what our system takes. And that's why we spend so much time usually on these calls on marketing in order to reach people to talk to. Because after that, if you get people to watch that video and follow up and be a tour guide to the information, not a presenter of the information, then the system will build your business. You work the system will build your business. So that's, I'm assuming 4 a month. I'm assuming you don't have any split sales with referral partners or trainees. You will have. I'm just being conservative and leaving those out. And then I'm going to assume that people are smart enough to start at 50% because all they have to do is those 5 simple steps. So let's say that in any given month you got 3 new people starting. Maybe you sponsor 6 and 3 of them disappear and go into witness protection. But 3 of them start and they do 1 more case besides their own in that first month. They refer to 1 and you're helping them write that, so you're probably getting a split, but I'm not even counting that. And then let's say last month you had a couple that are still going and they're getting a little bit better, so they're doing 2 a month. Remember I said this is a 7-11 plan. What we're assuming is 11 cases at half of our company average volume in terms of annual premium in your base shop. And for anybody who's brand new, the base shop is the people that are in your vice president group who have not yet become vice president. Again, we'll go over all that on Monday. So assuming 11 minimum. Remember, winners don't make their minimums or maximums. It's perfectly okay to do more. Just don't do less if you're serious about this. So your goal is to become a vice president, doing 4 cases a month personally. Most of those cases are going to come from people that have seen that intro video and either join, 90% of them will buy a policy, or don't join, 20% of them will buy a policy because they see the products in the course of evaluating the opportunity. So that's where your 4 cases a month come from. You're going to teach these guys to do the same thing and also, of course, notify everybody they know about the value of full living benefits. But if they're building, you want to have them recruiting on a consistent basis as well because you want to develop 7 vice president groups over the next 3 years. That should be your goal. You can do it faster. Remember, this is minimums, not maximums. But could you find 7 people in the next 3 years that want to make an extra $70,000 a year? I'd suggest you probably could. Okay? So 11, by the way, is half of an average base shop in Freedom Equity Group. An average base shop does about 25 a month. A good base shop does about 50 a month, and a phenomenally huge base shop does about 100 a month. We're talking about 11 a month, and we're talking about half of our company average. People are doing this, guys. So the next thing is find 7. If it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years, I don't know what the time frame is. It depends on you. It depends on who you're talking to, your skills, all that sort of thing. But guys, you cannot consistently and persistently share this story and not have people join you. It's too strong. So if you do that, that's a couple $100,000 a year in income if you're doing that every month, right? So what do we teach these 7 people, do you suppose? These are the leaders. You found 7 leaders over the course of 2 or 3 years. What are we teaching these 7? We're teaching them 7-11 plan, find 7. So that would be 49 if they all find 7, but they're all not going to do that right away. Some of those ones will start and drop out. That'll happen. Some of them will get run over by a truck. That can happen. Some of them will just find another opportunity. That will happen. And some of them will stick around. So it'll take you a while, a little sifting and sorting to find the 7. As they're finding their 7, they're getting started. Let's say they only do 2 on average. If 7 people on average find 2 each, that would be how many? 14, right? So if you have 14 in your second generation 3 years from today and 7 in your first, these are groups of people, right, that are doing 11 each on average. That's $250,000 in income at the VP level, but you're no longer a VP, right? Because we have senior management infinity bonuses. And the senior VPs, that's when you have 100,000 in trailing 12-month earnings, you get a 3% raise. The national VP is when you have 250,000 trailing 12-month earnings, you get another 3% for a total of 6%. Here you're over 250, so I'm going to change your level here to national VP, and that takes your income from 250 to 500. Pretty interesting, huh? Because you're getting a 6% override on all of that. And then you're at over 400 now, so that's the senior national VP. Change it up to senior. Now you're over 600, that's the executive national VP. And so guys, that's $750,000 of income for finding 28 leaders over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. Is that worth it? And by the way, how many families' lives will be changed? 242 a month. Families being protected, having that gaping hole in their financial safety net fixed, and getting the peace of mind of being protected with full living benefits. This is without even ever writing an IUL policy, guys. So if you're writing IULs, obviously the numbers are bigger. But my point here is not to teach you the comp plan. You can get plenty of training on that elsewhere. It's to illustrate for you, to illustrate for you the value here of recommitting and figuring it out. In other words, if your why is big enough, you will figure out how. And if you focus on the long-term vision of where you want to go, then the obstacles and problems and distractions that occur along the way will seem like pebbles, and you'll find ways to kick them out of the way. If they're bigger than that, you'll find ways to go over them or around them or through them. But guys, if you focus on the obstacles and the problems and the distractions, they will loom like huge boulders and they will stop you. So you've got to stay focused on the long-term vision of why you are doing this, for your family and for all the families you're going to touch. In other words, your why has to be bigger than you. If you stay focused on those things and look at the long-term view, and your why is clear and you keep it in front of you every day, then you will figure out how. And you won't wait for somebody to show you how, you'll just figure it out. And let's talk about that for a minute, because that's the next really important thing I want to cover here in our time together this morning, is how do you do that? How do you change your mind so that you can really stay focused on the end result? And we'll get to that in just a minute, but I want to first remind you that the stuff we're going to be talking about on Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 Eastern, on the review of our system, is about our cycle of duplication. That's what we call the baseball diamond. That's about keeping it fun, fast, and simple, and consistently exposing new people to the intro video. Then once you are a VP, that's the process of getting from 0 to being a VP in 60 to 90 days. Once you're a VP, then what? That's when the President Club schedule becomes your plan of action. In other words, if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. The President's Club is your plan of action to take your business from the VP level to whatever level you want. So it's important to understand how that works, because whatever your freedom point is, you get to decide, but there's a path to that freedom point within the President's Club plan. And it all starts with the green shirt, of course. And if this makes no sense to you at all and you've never heard this before, then what you want to do is get over to our Team Synergy training blog, and there's one red link in that whole top menu bar. That's because it's important. And it's a 1-hour in-depth training on the system and the pathway to freedom called President's Club, and it's called the Green Shirt Boot Camp. Guys, if you haven't seen the Green Shirt Boot Camp or you haven't seen it lately, I would strongly encourage you to go back and watch it or rewatch it so that this is fresh in your mind, because the President's Club, you get to vice president, so what? If you're not building a business, 100% of nothing is nothing. It doesn't matter what you get paid. So the President's Club is how to go from achieving that VP level all the way to whatever level of income you want, to your freedom point. So when we're talking about refocusing, it's important to understand that none of this will matter unless you believe you can. Because Henry Ford said it best, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. And William James, who was the father of American psychology, said the greatest discovery of the 20th century, is that we can change the way we live by changing the way we think. Guys, what that means is you can literally change the results in your life by simply changing your mind. So, how do you change your mind? That's why this book, Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire, is in our Team Synergy training blog. You can download it for free, because this book will teach you how to change your mind so you can change your results and change your life. I'm just going to cover a couple of points from the first few chapters of that this morning, and then we'll wrap it up. This will take about 10 minutes, and then we'll be done. So I just want to read a couple of things from the first couple of chapters here. This shouldn't take very long, but it's important. So this book is about motivation, self-motivation. It's about starring in, directing, and producing a movie of your life with powerful results. It's about taking your desires, hopes, and dreams and aspirations and turning them into roaring fires of accomplishment. It's also about how to do this all by yourself, anywhere you want, anytime you choose, for the rest of your life. Does that sound interesting? Going back to the book here. However, this book is not about achieving everything you've ever wanted. That's not a place you ever want to be. That leads to apathy. People are happiest when they're in the process of achieving. And so he goes on with some examples. And then he says, the essence of being truly alive comes with falling in love with the pursuit of your dreams, with your purpose. Always stretching, always in momentum, always expecting the best. This is winning. This is success. This is living. This is happiness. This is Mach 2 with your hair on fire, and self-motivation is your key. Then he talks about the 4 greatest lies of success. And we've all heard these, right? The first thing is you have to have burning desire. Desire creates success. Most people confuse motivation with desire. We think that because we want something bad enough, we'll have the energy to get it. Yet how many people do you know that have a strong desire, maybe you even, right? How many people do you know that have a strong desire for a great deal more in their lives but aren't achieving it? My hand is up in the air. How about yours? So the 4 greatest lies of success are that desire success is about desire. Desire is important. It's great, but it has nothing to do with motivation. Desire only creates a yearning for something, but not any of the actual magical energy it takes to stay on the path toward achieving it. The next lie of success is that hard work creates success. Do you want to be successful? Then work hard. But haven't you been working hard? How many people do you know who have been working hard their whole life? If you work twice as hard as you do now, if you work twice as many hours every day, if you could, would you be successful, or would you rather be divorced or dead? Does hard work necessarily have anything to do with success? You know, it's not bad to work hard, but the point he's making here is that hard work alone is not going to create success. The next lie of success is being a good person creates success. You know, how many good people do we know that really have no success whatsoever financially, right? So it's not about being a good person. It's not about being a bad person. Being a good person is a great thing to do. I encourage it. But it's not a key to success. And then getting a good education. Boy, I'm a poster child for a good education. I have an MBA from USC and an undergraduate degree from an Ivy League college and graduated from Navy Flight School, and none of that has anything to do with success. All of those diplomas and $2 will get me a cup of regular coffee at the local Starbucks. Has nothing to do with success. Guys, I actually learned more in 4 years in Amway, even though I made no money back in the 80s, than I ever learned at Dartmouth or in the MBA program at USC. I learned more that was useful in Amway. And I actually took the skills I learned in Amway and the people I met in Amway and built the 3rd largest mortgage brokerage in Orange County, California, and it had nothing to do with the education. It had to do with the experience and being around the people that were thinking right and learning how to think correctly. So the first key to success, guys, is self-motivation. Self-motivation is that emotional, internal energy that leads us to act powerfully. So self-motivation is that mysterious concoction, he writes, that mysterious concoction of belief, confidence, positive expectation, and creativity, a seeming abundance of physical, mental, and emotional energy that naturally propels us toward our goals. Check it out for yourself. If you could get yourself motivated enough and keep yourself motivated enough, what do you think you could achieve? So let's start out by defining motivation. Motivation is a powerful blend of physical, mental, emotional energy focused on creating an intended result. It's an energy that leads us to act and causes us to attract. So we're talking about self-motivation being the presence of creativity, physical energy, courage, enthusiasm, and persistence. So one of the primary focuses, guys, of the unconscious mind is releasing on demand sufficient levels of self-motivation. So that if you look back over your life, there's times when you have successfully achieved a goal you've had, right? So he writes, think back a little farther to just before you accomplished that particular goal. Notice the problems, obstacles, and challenges that you met and overcame along the way. How did you do that? Obviously, you solved these problems. Where did those solutions come from? The solutions came about because of ideas that you had. Ideas are the result of your creative thought. When you're motivated enough, you'll come up with the ideas. Remember I said if your why is big enough, you'll figure out how. He says when you're motivated enough, you'll come up with the ideas. New and different ways of doing things, different ways of saying things, even a brand new way of seeing things. Creativity is not the exclusive property of genius. Creative thought is the direct result of being motivated. We all have the ability to generate creative thoughts whenever and wherever we want. The same is true for physical energy, courage, enthusiasm, and persistence. These energies and decision-making abilities are available to us on demand in extraordinary quantities. Our emotional state and our state of mind determine when and how we unleash them. Take a moment to reflect on the time in your life when you've called on them and they were there. These are your successes. You are an infinite storehouse of enthusiasm. You are an infinite storehouse of courage. You are an infinite storehouse of persistence, and you are an infinite storehouse of creative genius. So that's the first chapter, and then he goes on in the second chapter talking about how do we get from here to there. So let's get into that for just a second, and we'll wrap it up. Here's the most important takeaway, guys. To the degree that there's a contrast between what we have decided should be happening, which is our vision, to the degree there's a contrast between our vision and what is happening, which is our current results, creativity, energy, courage, enthusiasm, and persistence naturally, effortlessly, powerfully, and infinitely flow. Who here would like to have creativity, energy, courage, enthusiasm, and persistence naturally, effortlessly, and powerfully, and infinitely flow for you? Right? Would that be good? So he says, as I mentioned before, one of the primary unconscious functions of the human mind is releasing on demand sufficient amounts of self-motivation. So the mind will do this for you. It's just like a thermostat. So the thermostat, if you think of just the thermostat on the wall, if it's set for 70 degrees, when the temperature drops below 70 degrees, motivation in the form of heat begins to flow, right? And the warming up process begins. Back and forth, the temperature rises and falls, constantly in search of 70 degrees, right? So a positive vision is like a thermostat pulling you up. A positive vision looks at the goal as being inevitable. And a neutral vision looks at like what we have now, our current result is inevitable, and a negative vision worries that we'll lose even what we have. So your vision will determine where your thermostat is set relative to your current results. So here's the point here, guys. Your subconscious mind does not care what you want or what you're willing to work hard for. It only cares that you perform in accordance with what you expect for yourself. So your subconscious mind only cares, and it will only give you motivation to the extent that there's contrast, right? So it only cares what you expect for yourself. That is the set point on your motivational thermostat. And if that set point, if what you expect for yourself is about what you've got, you'll be apathetic. There'll be no motivation, no energy. That's called apathy. If your set point, your expectation is above what your current results are, then all of this energy, creativity, physical energy, enthusiasm will naturally, effortlessly, and abundantly flow to you. And so it's just a matter of changing the set point in your thermostat. Hope this makes sense, guys. It's powerful stuff. So a vision is an expectation, a belief, a mindset. You know, your subconscious mind, I'll say it again, doesn't care about what you want. It's and what you're willing to work hard for. It only cares that you perform in accordance with what you expect for yourself. That's your vision. So a vision is an expectation, a belief, or a mindset. A vision is simply how we see ourselves. It's the subconscious conversation that we have with ourselves and the way we feel about ourselves in any given endeavor. In different roles, you can have different visions for your competence and your expectation for that role, right? So everybody has a vision. This is really important right here. You have a vision. You, listening to this message right now, you have a vision. It's not a matter of getting a vision. It's a matter of replacing the one that you have with one that propels you toward your goals, because the chances are your vision was created randomly. You can replace that and create your vision of what should be happening for you on purpose. And that's the whole point of this book, and we're almost done with this little intro, but I'm going to encourage you to obviously download that book for free on our website and read it. So the vision is how we see ourselves. And he talks in here about why diets don't work. It's kind of funny. And he talks about his own experience in his failures before he did this. And what he says is, everything changed for me when I developed a willingness to train myself to think like a successful person. He says, of course, most people lack the success thought process, I should say thought. Most people lack the success thought process initially. So if you lack that thought process initially, don't worry. This is a guy who was a near high school dropout in Bakersfield, California, and thought he died and gone to heaven when he got a job, a union job, cutting chickens apart on the Zaki Farm chicken line in Bakersfield. He thought that was, the pinnacle for him. But he went to a weekend seminar in which people taught this principle to him and 5 of his high school dropout buddies. and all of them were factory workers. The next Monday, guys, those 5 guys never set foot in the factory again. All 5 of them went on to become millionaires. This is powerful stuff. 2 of them I know personally as trainers in the direct sales industry, and they're the real deal. So he said most people lack the success thought process, but I had an even worse problem. I lacked a willingness to acquire the success thought process. But he overcame that. He said, I went to work on my head, my thoughts, what I held to be true, literally changing my mind about what I had decided about me. It worked. Within 6 months, I was earning $10,000 per month. This is back in the 70s. Within 2 years, I was earning almost $40,000 a month. Think about that, $4,000 a year to $400,000 within 2 years. Everything changed for me when I developed a willingness to train myself to think like a successful person. Everything changed for me when I developed a willingness to train myself to think like a successful person. So, how do you create a vision? Everybody, by the way, that lack of willingness stops everybody dead in their tracks. And remember, William James said the greatest discovery of the 20th century is that we can change the way we live by changing the way we think. So how do you change your mind? How do you change what you really think deep down inside and what you expect for yourself? And it's about replacing the vision that you have. Everybody has had or will have a vision. It's not a matter of getting one. It's a matter of replacing the one that you have. So that's what this book is about. I'm going to encourage you to read it, and here's why. Because with or without any one of us, those 149 million policies out there will be replaced by somebody, right? Freedom Equity Group will grow with or without any one of us to over 1 million agents, and all those agents are going to be in someone's group who's in the business today. So, before you leave the scene of this call, I would suggest that you get to your computer and download Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire, because why should those tens of thousands of agents who will be part of this company not be in your downline? And I'm willing to bet right now you're having problem believing that. That's why you need to download this book and read it, because this is possible for anybody. We're in front of something that is huge. In business, timing is everything, and the timing in front of this product adoption cycle of living benefits is phenomenal, as you've heard me say many times, and the timing cycle in front of the growth of Freedom Equity Group is phenomenal. It is the right place at the right time, but no matter how big the wave is, if you're out surfing, if you don't paddle and you don't believe you're going to catch that wave, chances are you're not going to catch it. So you need to change your mind so you can change the results. Here's where that book is in the Team Synergy Training blog. Right next to the home link in the top menu bar, it says Expand Your Possibilities. You can download that book for free. There is a little 15-minute audio on each chapter also there you can just listen to if you want, and I would encourage you to do that. The path is there. You can change your mind and you can change your results if you're willing to train yourself to change your mind. So once again, just to review the updates, and I will actually turn off the recording at this point.